Thank you very much for this very important occasion tonight. We will soon be going on to television and to start the debates. But before we do that, we are live on the Joynews channel on Multi-TV, and we want to welcome all our viewers to the University for Development Studies Faculty of Education 2020 National Political Parties Education Policy Debate in Ghana. And this will feature 4 of the political parties who will share their positions as regards their policies. But before we start, we will quickly invite for an opening prayer Afasa Isa Hussein Yakubu to quickly lead us in a very quick prayer, and then we will take the national anthem and proceed to observe a minute's silence in honor of the former President Jerry John Rawlings, for whom we have this university standing. Shall we have that quickly done and then proceed as we are ready on television? We want to welcome all our television viewers joining us on the Multi-TV on Joynews channel to the University for Development Studies here in Tamale. Welcome to a very important part of the debate that may have been missing in the mainstream discussion, education. Thank you.
Thank you too. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil mursaleen. Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahabatihi ajma'in wa ba'd. May we be in the mood of prayers. Allahumma lakal hamdu kulluhu wa lakal shukru kulluhu wa lakal mulku kulluhu wa biyadikal khayru kulluhu wa ilayka yurja'ul amru kulluhu. Allahumma inna nas'aluka as-salamata min al-bidayati ila an-nihaya. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide and guide us from beginning of this beautiful program to the end. It's all going to be deliberations and debate. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable the panel to bring out the best from their political parties for the audience and the entirety of Ghanaian populace to benefit. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the end, we wish to see and we pray to experience peaceful election. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us that. Allahumma rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar. Rabbana zalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. صلاة على النبي الكريم.
Thank you very much, Hussein Yakubu. If you are just joining us, this is the 2020 National Political Parties Education Policy Debates coming to you live from the University for Development Studies campus. Let's now stand for the national anthem.
Thank you.
Please let's remain standing for 1 minute and observe a minute of silence in honor of the former President Jerry John Rawlings. May the good Lord bless his soul. Shall we please take our seats now? And once again, you are welcome to the University for Development Studies, UDS. And this is Tamale. This is the 2020 National Political Parties Education Policy Debates in Ghana. And it's brought to you by the University for Development Studies, UDS, in partnership with NORSAC and Oxfam. I am Samson Ladi Anyanini. I will be your moderator for this debate. And I'd like to begin by welcoming the following people who are in our midst. We are certainly here to the landlord of this campus, Professor Felix Kweku Abagale, who is a Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University for Development Studies. Thank you very much, Prof, for making the time to be here for this very important exercise, to show that the University for Development Studies is not an ivory tower, but that it is connected with the people. Dr. Sulemana A. Achanso, who is the Dean Faculty of Sustainable Development Studies. Thank you very much. Also, Professor Owusu Sechere, Director, Distance Education, right here at the University for Development Studies. Dr. Felix Longe, who is the UTAC President of UDS Tamale. Thank you for also making yourself available. Samantha Gifty Bukari, Consul General of Ghana to Dubai, the UEA. Thank you very much for your presence. Professor Samuel A. Donko, Dean, School of Applied Economics and Management Sciences, UDS Nyampala Campus. Thank you for your patience, and we begin immediately. Of course, we also have Professor Haruna Yakubu, former Vice Chancellor of the UDS. Thank you for your presence. We will, at this point, welcome for a brief address by the Professor Felix K. Abagale, who is the Pro-Vice Chancellor, for a very brief address. Please, let's put our hands together and welcome him. If you are just joining us, this is your Joynews channel, and this is also Joy 99.7 FM, and we are coming to you from the University for Development Studies campus here in Tamale.
Thank you very much, and good evening. I deliver this speech on behalf of the Vice Chancellor of the University for Development Studies, Professor Gabriel Eyumtei. Honorable Minister of State, members of Parliament present, honorable MMDCs, the Consul General to the United Arab Emirates, Registrar of the University, Professor Haruna Yakubu, Third Vice Chancellor of the University for Development Studies, Deans and Directors of the University present, senior members of the University, stakeholders of education herein present, officials of NOSAC and Oxfam present in our midst, representatives of political parties, media, chiefs and traditional rulers present, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome you all to the University for Development Studies on the occasion of the Faculty of Education 2020 Political Parties Debate on Education Policy in Ghana. The debate is an important initiative by the Faculty of Education of the University because as a higher institution of learning, we consider education as pivotal and as a bedrock to national development. It is in this regard that sound educational policies, as well as implementation strategies, would not only play a vital role in raising the image and living standards of the citizenry, but also will enhance effective skill acquisition as well as competitiveness to drive our capacity to generate wealth and improve the quality of lives of the Ghanaian citizenry. Ladies and gentlemen, this platform is considered a non-partisan one, and it is organized by the Faculty of Education in collaboration of NOSAC and Oxfam, with the main reason to engage political parties on the educational policies therein presented in their manifestos. These debates will provide an opportunity for reflection and dialogue among the political parties as well as stakeholders present in this program, so that we together can foster our way forward to have a good educational system come the years ahead of us. Ladies and gentlemen, educational policy issues should be a major priority to any political party and all politicians, because voters would necessarily be very much interested in what is contained in their manifesto, especially in the area of education. It is therefore my fervent hope that the voters will listen attentively and the stakeholders herein present would ask the necessary questions so that it will engage our political parties to allow us have a very good educational system for the years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to use this platform to call on political leaders and their supporters to refrain from any act of violence and confusion in the quest to capture political power or retain political power come December 7, 2020. Election is a medium for exchange of ideas and sale of our thoughts as to how we want to govern the country. It doesn't provide us a platform for bloodshed, and so therefore it must be a peaceful process and it must be civil to allow us elect the good leaders that we desire for. Ladies and gentlemen, on this note, I would like to welcome you once again on behalf of the Vice Chancellor of the University for Development Studies, and I wish all the speakers and all the stakeholders a fruitful period of deliberation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You are here live on your Joynews channel and also on Joy 99.7 FM. If you are just joining us, this is the 2020 National Political Parties Educational Policy Debate in Ghana, and is brought to you by the University for Development Studies, UDS, in collaboration with NORSAC and Oxfam. Shall we welcome the Executive Director? The Executive Director of NORSAC, Oxfam, Alhaji Muhammad Awal, to give us a very brief remark, and then we will start the debate right away. Thankfully, the political parties are formidably represented here for this evening's encounter. A round of applause for Alhaji Muhammad Awal as he gives us a very brief remark.
Thank you very much, Samson. Good evening to you all. I stand on the established protocol by our Pro-VC, and to, first of all, commend University for Development Studies for this particular initiative. NORSAC and Oxfam are happy to see UDS, which is the premier university of the North, initiate something like this. It wasn't therefore surprising that when the proposal was discussed with Oxfam and NORSAC, we didn't hesitate to support and be part of this particular initiative. So I commend UDS for this initiative, and also the political parties for attaching seriousness to this particular initiative. Some of you traveling down from Accra to be with us. We are grateful. NORSAC and Oxfam believe that education can be used to address issues of poverty and inequality. And so we are going to 2020 elections. And we feel there is a need for citizens to know policy proposals of the political parties, and that can inform their decision when it comes to casting votes. We are doing so because of our belief that if we prioritize education, we are going to bridge the gap that exists between the North and South. And so our decision to be part of this is to make sure that the political parties have an opportunity to discuss their policy proposals, so that those of us here, after elections, we will continue to discuss, monitor, and of course criticize where there is a need. Today is not for us to present detailed speeches, but to listen to these political parties, and so we are going to do exactly that. So on this note, I wish the political parties well. We are here to listen to you, and we hope you will give us the best of the day. Thank you so much for.
Thank you very much, the Executive Director for NORSAC, Oxfam, Mohammed Al-Hassan Awal. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now gotten to the point where we get into the main reason we are here tonight. Now, here are some of the ground rules that we will be observing in the course of this debates. First and most important, you are not expected to clap, but you may clap when we are taking a break and all the panelists have responded to their questions. We have 2 segments. After we are done with the first segment, I shall call upon you to give all of them a round of applause. So do not clap in the middle of the presentation or soon after one panelist is done with their presentation. All the representatives of the political parties here will be giving a first opportunity of telling all of us and the whole of Ghana their education policies without the moderator interrupting at any point. That will be the first time that they begin this debate, and they will have about 4 minutes to do so. Once they are done with that, I will be asking each one of them a question, and they will have 2 minutes to respond to the question that is asked them. If anybody has a rebuttal, they have an opportunity of a minute to do so, and I may follow up with follow-up questions. We will take a break after the first segment and return for the second segment, where the questions will be fielded by professional organizations that are present this evening in this hall. The NATS, the NAGRAT, and UTAG will also be asking their questions. The representatives will have 2 minutes each to provide responses. And subsequently, they will have an additional 2 minutes to supply rebuttals and closing remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, because you will not have the opportunity to clap, may I invite you to now give them a round of applause as I introduce our panelists for this evening. In the order as you find on the ballots, there are 4 political parties represented here tonight, and the criteria has been very simple. Either that the party is in Parliament or has been in Parliament in the Fourth Republic. So starting from my immediate left is Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, Deputy Minister for Education and MP for Busumche, representing the NPP. Dr. Ahmed Yakubu Al-Hassan is former Deputy Minister for Agriculture, former MP, Mion constituency, right here in the northern region, representing the NDC. Also, we have Professor Emmanuel Yaovi Honwe Bobobi. He is Vice Presidential Candidate of the CPP, representing the CPP tonight. And finally, Pastor Dr. Divine Aivo is Vice Presidential Candidate of the PNC and representing the PNC's flag bearer, David Apasera. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your moderator, Samson Ladi Anyanini. I host Newsfile on Joynews, television and radio. Gentlemen, we shall begin right away, and starting from that same order, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum. In the next 4 minutes, we want to hear the NPP's policy in summary for education in Ghana. It's on.
Yeah. Thank you. I can stand or how to sit? I have to sit or stand? Yes. Sit. It's not easy to tell a teacher to sit and talk, but I'll sit and talk. It's an honor to be here today to represent my party. And I feel privileged to be in Tamale and to join the university community, stakeholder community, traditional authorities, and to share with you the NDC's policies underpinning the education progress we are seeing in this country. Education in the 21st century is a difference maker. In fact, education is not just a piece of the puzzle. If we are talking about socioeconomic transformation, in the 21st century, it's a whole puzzle. If you don't get education right, you're not going to get your socioeconomic transformation right. Therefore, the leadership of MPP, of course, led by Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, when Ghanaians gave him the chance to become a president, did not waste time at all looking at the various manifesto commitments and looking at how they can be actually transformed into policies that will change the socioeconomic fortunes of this country. Now, it's difficult to talk about education policy without looking at some of the critical indicators, which, if you do right, leads to education's positive outcomes and, of course, positive socioeconomic transformation. Indicators such as the gross tertiary enrollment ratio, indicators such as the gross secondary enrollment ratio, especially when you look at the gross enrollment ratio for girls. In this country, when you look at 2016, and out of the girls that were eligible to go to school, it was about 48% that were in school. Now it's about 60%. Within 3 to 4 years, you can see that progress is being made. When you look at the fact that for the first time in the history of this country, you have, maybe not in the history, I'm sorry, in the recent history of this country, sorry, you have on the WASI, in the core subjects, in every single subject, there's a above 50% pass rate. So you can see that the various leading indicators which was implemented in terms of free secondary education, making sure children reported to school early on because they don't have to worry about fees, then saw its lagging indicator in the form of quality outcomes even on the WASI. So this evening I hope to have the opportunity to delve into these issues further and to have the opportunity to explain to you, the audience, and also to Ghanaians that Nana Danko Akufo-Addo's education policies are aimed at aligning education to socioeconomic transformation and making sure that the fortunes of this country will forever be transformed because we had the right education policies in place. Do I have some?
Right. Doctor, you have time. In fact, when
sure.
your fourth minute you hit the time, you'll be bailed out. Right.
So if we talk about socioeconomic transformation and we talk about education, as I already indicated, we have to look at the issues surrounding access. We have to look at the issues surrounding quality. We have to look at the issues surrounding relevance of the education system to the transformation of our nation's fortune. So in areas of access, secondary level access, you have the free senior high school. FQ has been there. We'll talk about tertiary, and we'll move on to quality and then relevance of our education system.
Thank you. So same question for all of you gentlemen. So we hear from the NDC. Yes, it's on. Please go on.
Thank you very much. I'd like to also write on the protocols established so that I can go straight to the point. Let me say that as a political party, the educational policies that will govern our country must be based on scientific evidence to conclude that a developing country can only develop with education being the key to the development, with education being the foundation. So education, in our view, is the knowledge industry of any nation and involves an entire value chain of activities at different levels. And this value chain of activities, if done properly, will then inure to an educated country. Importantly also, education defines the future of a country and it lives the present. And that means that any decisions taken in the present must be very carefully taken because the future of the nation is at stake. It also has to involve the socio-cultural values of the people as a commodity in order to get it done. And at the same time, being a global commodity, the individuals who become the outcomes of that educational system must be globally competitive. And that is why there's a need to relate the indigenous system to the global setting. And that is why I believe we have issues of SDGs that are defined at the United Nations level for member countries to adopt inside. It's also clear that education is a rights issue because society is not made of everybody who is capable of competing. And therefore, there must be discriminatory policies to lift those who are not capable so that they can catch up with the rest of society. It's an absolute fact that we are vulnerable people based on either geography or economic setting, and therefore policies must take on board these issues. We also have contemporary issues such as COVID-19 that just landed on us without our knowing, modern technology, which is ICT, and environmental issues that must all inform our educational policies at the end. And so these issues inform the NDC manifesto for 2020, and which I will soon state is critical issues. But what must be stated clearly is that educational policies must marry political decisions with technical expertise in order to arrive with what is reasonably convenient for our country, Ghana. And so to just highlight a few things that we have in our manifesto, we all believe that secondary education, free secondary education or senior high school education is here to stay. And the NDC pledges to sustain free senior high school, but will definitely reorganize the system to make it convenient for both parents, students, and teachers. The double track system will be a goner as soon as the NDC is put into office. Private schools will also be brought in to sustain the free senior high school system. The technical vocational education is an important variable that should inform our industrialization as a country. That is lacking behind, and therefore one of the key highlights of our policy is to enhance technical and vocational education in order to have the necessary human capital that can power our industry. It's also a fact that the COVID-19, well, there are many other things.
All right.
Maybe subsequently we can go further.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Let's hear from the CPP. If you are just joining us, this is your Joy News channel, and this is Joy 99.7 FM. We're coming to you live from the University for Development Studies here in Tamale. Yes, so
thank you, moderator, and good evening to all Ghanaians who are watching this program. The CPP, as you all know, is a mother party that ushered present-day Ghana into the Committee of Nations. And the CPP believes strongly that education is the bedrock of development, and no child should be left behind. And the CPP actually upholds the socialist educational policy that is enshrined in the Ghana Education Act of 1961. And for that matter, CPP believes that education is the leveler And for that, and everybody must have unrestricted access to education. The CPP will embark on its traditional educational policies by making education accessible to all. We will come and then make all boarding schools, all second cycle schools boarding to enable the youth from all over the country to meet and then associate easily and then serve as an incubator to be tolerant in future. The CPP government policy on education will actually make all the communities to make contribution into the policy, to the running of the educational policy that is going to be implemented. In fact, at the basic school, the BCE level, the CPP will actually emphasize on 4 main subjects. The rest will not be examinable. And these main subjects are science, integrated science, mathematics, English, and then a 4th one that can be selected from the community based on their electives. And these electives will also be informed by the activities in the environment in which these schools are located. If you come from an agricultural environment, then there must be agricultural focus as an elective. If you come from a fishing environment, then something on fishing and agriculture should be an elective. The CPP party and the CPP government, as you all know, has instituted free education from primary to the university, and that has been in existence all along. And we are coming to build upon that and then make sure that in this present day, we believe that in the knowledge economy, an educated citizen is actually the most prized human resource that you can get. And for that matter, we are going to intensify the study of science-based subjects, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics subjects, and to make sure that our youth will also rub shoulders with the youth of the rest of the world when it comes to developing current technologies that we need. Now, the whole world globally, the universe, we are going from the brick and mortar to the online distance learning. The CPP government is coming to intensify this and make sure there's a blend between the face-to-face brick and mortar and then the distance learning. We are going to encourage the study of science and technology and mathematics subjects so that in the knowledge-based economy that we are now, we want our youth to also contribute to developing applications that can be used globally to be able to increase the income and then the knowledge of our people, so that we will not just be borrowing people's applications and be using. We must put something on the global platform for people to use. So the CPP government is going to empower all the youth, ladies, girls will not be left out, and boys and everybody. But principally, we will make sure from secondary school, all second cycle schools will become boarding, so that it will create an incubation for the youth to mix and then learn from each other, so that in adult life, there will be no joke that anybody will crack and then it will draw daggers. It will make us to actually be cohesive, and we believe the boarding school system will actually become the glue that will bind this country together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Yalvi. Can we hear Dr. Divine Aivo of this PNC? What does your education policy say?
Good evening, everyone listening, all the invited guests. The PNC, the next ruling government of Ghana, we have some plans that nobody else has in their manifesto. Although you will hear some of the parties quoting from our manifesto, tonight we might reveal some. Education is a human right according to our specification. That should not be denied anyone. Wholesome, disabled, rich or poor, rural or urban, they should all have identical opportunities for education. But if you look at the trend we're following, 5% of GDP was applied to education in 2001. Then it went up to 7.4 in 2005. 8.1 in 2011, and then it started decreasing. 4.5 in 2017. Now, you expect it to be going up because of the population increase. We are increasing at 700,000 to 800,000 per year in population growth. So that reducing the GDP portion that goes towards education is problematic, because even these figures are mainly for salaries, for teachers, nothing for infrastructure development. If you look in our rural areas, some of the schools Dr. Kwame Nkrumah built in 1961 educational program, some of those schools are still in existence without any maintenance. So you can see roofs are falling apart, classroom furniture is the same old furniture that our great-great-grandfathers used in modern-day Ghana. PNC is not in favor of those, because not only the students are suffering, but the teachers who are posted to rural areas, some of them, because of the excess heat and poor ventilation, end up bringing the children under trees for tutoring. We, PNC government, is going to apply 15% of GDP towards education. Yes, our GDP is dropping. It's about 50 billion right now. But we have plans. We have solid plans to make that possible, which no other party will look at. We are coming to look at the teachers who have been promised their reward is in heaven, that their reward will be right here on earth in Ghana. We will make sure our teachers who are posted to rural areas live as comfortably as those who are in the urban areas. So being posted to rural areas does not discourage you from doing what you're supposed to do. Teachers are very important. We will eliminate that the exams that they have to take now for licensure, because the schools they attended was a government school with a government curriculum, and they graduated. So there should be no more licensure, anything for them to go and take, but concentrate on teaching our children.
Thank you very much. I will now begin with the questions that I have to pose to you, and you have 2 minutes to respond. If I do follow up on the question I ask, you will have 1 minute to the follow-up question. The first question to Dr. Educhum of the NPP is, an Oxfam report published in 2018 found that girls are particularly dropping out on the chance of a better education, with the poorest girls from the most marginalized regions facing the greatest challenges. The report found, for instance, that only 26% of the poorest girls from the northern region finished primary education. Question: what would you do to ensure quality in school enrollment, retention, completion, as well as performance and transition among girls, regardless of their socio-economic backgrounds and location?
The issue of girls' enrollment in school has to be looked at within the context of the socio-economic circumstances that they find themselves. There are a number of times that parents are making a decision whether a girl should go to secondary school or a boy should go to secondary school, and invariably it's the boy. Because of cost barriers. When you remove cost barriers, then you begin to see that parents are not forced to select a boy over a girl. Whatever cultural reasoning that they may have. That is why at the beginning I said, the mic. Now, if you look at the gross enrollment ratio of girls in senior high schools, In 2015-16, it was 48.9%. 2018-19, it rose to 60.8%. So when you remove the cost barrier, parents are now not being forced to choose a boy over a girl. And therefore, you begin to see that girls get the opportunity to go to school. So Free Senior High School is doing some magic when it comes to girls' enrollment at the secondary level. But I also know that in many parts of our country, you have serious issues about dropouts. And therefore, anything that you do, you have to focus on making sure that the children who are on the streets are reintegrated into our schools. If you look at what we are doing, the Ghana Accountability for Learning Outcomes program, over $200 million project sponsored by the World Bank. We have a component that focuses on how you get the children on the street, especially girls, back in school. So this government has also, through various strategies, done a good job at bringing children on the streets back to school. This was a project that we took over from the previous regime, and we have executed it very well, just as they were doing. But we've taken another step. Your 2 minutes.
Right. Now, my follow-up question to you in that regard will be that despite free SHS, which you have had an enrollment in excess of 1.2 million, this problem is reported. What is the missing link?
The problem, I've said, 48.9 has moved to 60.8 within a period of 3 years. That is great progress. You don't see this in many parts of the world. You don't accomplish it within that short period of time. So we are making progress as a nation. And if you look at the Complementary Education Agency, the new agency that is replacing the non-formal education recently passed in the Parliament of Ghana, the agency is now fully in charge of children who are out of school. And their focus is to make sure that whether they are boys or girls, northern or southern Ghana, we make sure these students are integrated into our school system. But you cannot do all this when you don't look at opportunity that you provide to really make sure children go to school. So when I hear my friend talking about double track will be eliminated, that is a recipe for disaster. Because what that means is that you are going to limit enrollment to senior high schools. And therefore, you have to bring back the cutoff point. And when you cut off, the disadvantaged students who did not do on the BC are the ones who will be on the street.
Thank you. So, following up on that and to the NDC, the World Bank Human Capital Index in 2019 scored Ghana 44% in terms of quality education. The NDC has been talking about quality. It says the NPP has introduced free SHS, but it's the quality that you want to improve. Many Ghanaians, of course, have added their voices to the call for emphasis on quality in the delivery of education in Ghana. In consolidating the gains made, what specific plans will you put in place to ensure quality is upheld? Specific plans to ensure quality.
Well, I've always insisted that quality education is extremely important because it's quality that will produce quality human capital for the nation. And as long as quality is compromised, we are going to keep talking about the fallout of the hurriedly implemented policies that really are mainly for political expedience than serving the interests of the citizenry. Now, specifically, we need to disaggregate our problems that confront us in the educational sector and also ensure that vulnerable groups are identified and specifically targeted. Now, if a policy to have education made accessible is limited only to the accessibility, but does not look at the content in terms of quality. In other words, you expand access, and yet the tools and the logistics to deliver quality education is a matter. And that's why in the NDC manifesto policy, for education, we're saying that the retraining and retooling of our educational institutions will be key. And one of them is to expand the infrastructure so that nobody is left behind in the school system. Each person will have opportunity to be in school, and we also have to leverage on technology. COVID-19 caught us unawares to the extent that there was talk about brick and mortar classrooms. We had to go virtual. We didn't have the infrastructure to deal with it. This has got to be looked at closely so that people can have access to education. It doesn't matter where they are. When the fiber optic cable was being laid across the country, many people did not see the essence of it. But today, we see that clearly that is helping ICT to get to the remotest parts of the country, and that should help in enhancing our quality in terms of education delivery.
In talking about quality and in talking about access, particularly freeness of the education, the NDC in your manifesto speak about free TVETs. But it's free, is it not? So what exactly are you talking about providing?
We're saying that TVET schools will be targeted, and people who go to TVET schools will have a progression to go into the technical universities as their natural landing ground for tertiary education. And that education will be provided at no cost to the people who will be, or the students who will be going to those schools, just to serve as an incentive to boost and grow our technical educational system to go. Remember that for those of us who went to the standard, the vocational schools and the secondary schools as we have them normally, are judged at the same standard. The deputy minister was just quoting statistics, but this statistic did not disaggregate what we have as a normal senior high school and the vocational. And so the vocational students often find themselves blocked because they don't have tertiary institutions that they can enter as a matter of natural progression. We're saying that the technical universities, which will be established in 6 of them, the new regions, will provide entry points for
Thank you. And remember that you have opportunity of a rebuttal. If you do indicate, I will let you do so in 1 minute. All right, Dr. Duchu.
I think that there was a question about quality outcomes, and we've said and we've heard the talk about you did double track, you compromise quality. I don't know anywhere in the world where you do something so bad and then you get positive outcomes. If double track and free senior high school as an access program compromise quality, why did we get better outcomes than 2015? And I think if you look at the data, you're going to realize that in mathematics, 2015, the score was 32.5%. This year, 65%. So if we compromise our implementation of free secondary education without introducing quality measures, my brother is right. If you do access and you don't have quality measures, yes, you compromise quality. But we had quality measures introduced, grants for schools for intervention, for example. And the fact that students will not send their school fees, the fact that students came to school during the first week of school and not the third or the fourth because the parents are waiting for money, that in itself gave an opportunity for an increase in contact hours, and also the fact that we increased contact hours from 1,080 to 1,134 hours. Those are quality measures.
Your time is up, and I see that Dr. Yaku still has his hand up. Okay, quickly.
Yes, I think that the Honorable Minister has got it mixed up somewhere. The people who are doing the double track are yet to ride the WASI. The first batch of people, the first batch of free SHS had the normal system. They didn't have a double track affecting them. And so they are yet to ride WASI for us to see the impact of the double track on the WASI outcome. That's one.
The fact will be that those who have already written, participated in double track.
Fine.
Right.
But I also think that 50% pass rates is not exactly what the nation is looking for.
Yeah, but they had 32%.
No,
in
Dr.
2016.
You are not allowed to intervene.
I'm not sure a 50% pass rate is what we can call quality. It may be better than whatever it is, but 50% is not, for as far as I'm concerned, is not the right target for us. That's one. The other issue is that why do we have the double track system? That's the main question. And the double track system was introduced because we simply didn't have enough classrooms to contain the students. And so we are saying that why don't we complete the infrastructure that can provide more classrooms so that the double track system will not be necessary. I think that we have to be careful that we don't take makeshift measures to become permanent in our system.
Thank you. Now to the CPP. The CPP actually has had a very impactful role in seeking to champion the FQ, Free Compulsory Universal Basic Education. For 20 years now, we have been at the implementation. Question: we have free basic education. What happens to the compulsory aspects? What will the CPP do?
Thank you. The CPP is talking about free compulsory quality education from pre-primary to university. And that is what we have done. And that is what is existing now. If they talk about this free SSS, it's just that small segment that they have just taken out. But CPP all along, since independence, since 1961, when we have this educational trust, education has been free from primary to university. In fact, all of us here, we attended university free. So we are coming to say that there must be quality into the present educational system. How do we ensure the quality? First of all, the one body that is doing the teaching must be motivated and must be given an incentive-laden conditions of service. If teachers are dissatisfied, they will not be able to give their best. Some of us were taught by middle school leavers, people teachers, and we have managed to make it out to where we are now. Today, we have graduates, first degree and second degree holders teaching in our basic schools, and the performance is nothing to write home about. And this is where we feel those who are practicing the educational policy after us have missed something. And if Ghanaians give us a mandate, we will restore that dignity and that pride that Ghana once enjoyed as the leading educational country in the sub-region.
The question required specifically what you will do to ensure the compulsory aspects of the FQ.
That's what I'm saying, that we need the warm bodies. If that is part of the syllabus, then the teachers that must actually comply to teach those must be properly trained. So we have to train the human resource to teach those courses. And now we are lucky to have graduates teaching in the basic schools. Those teachers must be equipped with the skills to make sure that the compulsory components are there. To be compulsory, it means nobody should be left in the house. And that means no parents will have to keep the word not to go to school. The government must make sure schools are available in all communities, and every child going, every school going age must be available to go to school. So it will not be the prerogative of the parent not to allow the child to go to school. Because if the thing is free and we make it compulsory, the district assemblies will enforce that no child is left in the house. So there is going to be a multifaceted approach whereby all stakeholders will have to play their role. Parents, the district assemblies, the municipal assemblies must make sure no child is left in the house. And we make sure that the teachers who are in the classroom giving the instruction are well motivated and giving incentive-laden remunerations.
To the PNC, and as the CPP just mentioned, the teacher. The teacher is central. What policy do you have regarding teacher deployment and retention? And here we are talking about rural schools, and how will you ensure implementation in order to bridge the gap between the urban and rural schools. Remember, we are here in Tamale, in the northern region.
Thank you for reminding me of that. Because PNC just toured the northern region. And I have seen with my own eyes the difficulties. If I was a teacher posted here, I may resign because the conditions are unbearable. PNC policy on education, we have discovered that it is all based on financial difficulties and appropriations. The money is not there. If you look at this free SHS program, how much exactly was spent on it is nowhere to be found, because the money was spent as it was needed and it wasn't budgeted for. So it wasn't there for us to find out, to tell you right now. So this is PNC's approach. We are giving free education from kindergarten to the university level. Absolutely free. And education is not restricted to academia only. Apprenticeship. People who want to learn how to sew, they will go to their district assembly and pick up a form, and we will fund that. People want to go into carpentry, auto mechanics. All that is education. Anything that will lift up a person from poverty to a standard where he can survive with his family is education. We will award you certificates if you complete a certain years in training and your institution qualifies you as such. So the government is prepared to pay that. With private institutions which are booming, private universities, we will pay the portion that we are paying the government institutions.
Thank you. So you exhaust your rebuttal. That's your last rebuttal opportunity you have. Please, let's hear you. Dr. Duchum has a rebuttal.
Yeah, just so that since we are on air and the whole world is watching, my brother, education is budgeted for every year. You just don't go and pick up the money and spend. So it's something that if you check Hansard of Parliament, you see all the budget approvals for education. You cannot just go and pick any money and spend as you want. That is not done in this country. Then in terms of your TVET policy, it's being done now. It's called competency-based education, developed by CODVET. And yes, private sector, public sector, they take you from your prior knowledge and you're able to earn a certificate and move on. In fact, they develop a curriculum that can take somebody in TVET all the way to PhD. So my brother, I'm glad that we are talking about it, but Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is already doing it.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the juncture at which we take a very brief break of 2 minutes and return to have the professional groups within us, professional groups, field their questions to our panelists. On this note, may I now ask all of you to put your hands together and a round of applause for Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, Dr. Ahmed Yakubu Al-Hassan, Professor Emmanuel Yaovi, and Dr. Divine Aivo. If you are just tuning in, you are watching us on your Joy News channel, and you're listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM. We'll be right back.